Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Got a loaded show of content. I was at night practice last night, and the Minnesota Vikings, one, was a very long stretch period. But when they got to 7-on-7 in team, and I started talking to some of the scouts and the coaches and what's going on right now within the organization, there's some key pieces to this team that a lot of people probably don't have on their bingo card, but I'll talk about that coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's the Ron Johnson Show, and I'm your host, Ron Johnson. I got my co-host, Sam Ekstrom, joining me in just a bit. But I want everybody to know, today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Just download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. I'm Ron Johnson. This is the Ron Johnson Show. It's a beautiful Tuesday out there, people. We're in Minneapolis, of course, so it's heavy Minnesota, but we do cover the rest of the NFL. We do cover the rest of college football. We do cover basketball, their basketball season, WNBA, as they start to gear up and get ready for the playoff push. As the Lynx made a trade as well, I saw that. So you never really know what's going to happen with basketball, men's and women's, because anything can change in a moment. If somebody gets hot, look at the Pacers. They just got hot at the right time, but unfortunately, Hallie got hurt. So, that kind of downplayed the chance, and OKC got a championship. But we're going to continue to watch the WNBA. Maybe the Lynx will get a chance to get them a championship. But speaking of championships, as I bring my co-host into the show, Sam Ekstrom. Sam, a championship is won not on Sundays, not on Saturdays, not on Tuesdays. Sam, do you know when it's won, Sam?
You got to enlighten me. I want to know the secret.
Monday nights. It's one on Monday night, Sam. But it's one on training camp. Like it actually started in OTAs. Like championships are like, if Tom Brady, you listen to Tom Brady talk about it. You listen to Peyton Manning talk about how they went through their offseason. You talk about Kirk Cousins and the notebooks on Netflix that he has for every, I broke down everything. I wrote notes in the thing and I wrote notes in the plays. It starts now. The teams that are prepared now are going to win. The Bears right now, and I don't know if you heard Courtney Cronin this week, Sam. She talked about Ben Johnson and how he's been telling the players, some of the players are not as good as they think they are, and that things are going to get better, but we have to do it our way before we get better. And so clearly there's some things going on. And I was on TV last night, and I did a little pregame, camp preview on Vikings Camp Live, not Vikings Game Day Live, because we don't have that till Saturday. We got Vikings Preseason. I think they're going to call it live. They're not going to call it Game Day Live yet until it's a real game. So they keep got all these cute names until it's game day, because I'm guessing that is probably trademarked for certain sponsors, and they don't want to give people game day sponsorship if it's not a game day, but it is a preseason game. And last night I made a joke, of course, how people are, about the Bears, and I said, they're like, what do you think about JJ McCarthy? I said, good news is he gets to play the Bears in week 1. He doesn't have to play the Eagles. And that's all I was saying. It could have been the Titans. It could have been the Texans. He doesn't have to play the Eagles. You don't want to play the Eagles. You don't want to play the Super Bowl champs, right? They won, right? I'm not making that up. Or was it the
Eagles
Chiefs?
Are champions. They
okay.
Chiefs,
Eagles,
yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, it's already passed, Sam. That was last year. Who's talking about last year's champs? But they don't have to play the Eagles. So I'm like, it's not a easy matchup. No game in the NFL is easy, but they get a chance to play an easier team that's struggling right now as well. They're trying to find their identity with Caleb Williams. They're trying to find their identity with Ben Johnson. I know Antoine Randall is there as pass game coordinator as well, and he's trying to implement what he knows from the Pittsburgh Steelers and what he learned in Detroit as well with him and Ben Johnson. And so when you think about last night's practice, Sam, first takeaway I saw right away, Kevin O'Connell was taking care of his players. Like I got a chance to talk to a couple players, and one being Ambry Thomas, newest addition to the defensive backfield, still hasn't cracked, that 2 lineup yet. He's still with the 3s and the 4s. But I did talk to a couple coaches about him, and they said, man, the kid ran a 4.3. Like, he's fast, he can cover. Ambry Thomas himself told me, he's like, man, I'm covering well right now. Like, I'm covering really well right now. The biggest thing is learning Brian Flores' defense. Like it's not just covering. You're not just playing man coverage or cover two. You got to be able to understand the entire secondary to be able to crack that 2 spot, that 1 spot. And they said Nudie McGlovern is having one of the best camps they've seen. Like Nudie McGlovern, we might need to make sure we throw him up in that because he's in there now. Like he is having a great camp. They said he's all over the place. He's covering guys. He's confident. And I think that's the key. When you get some confidence is big in defensive backs and athletes, period, when you're confident. But Sam, the one thing I saw last night, is JJ McCarthy. He's pretty good. He's a pretty good guy. He throws the ball well, sees the concepts well. There was no Justin Jefferson. So that was, you don't see the full scope of the offense. TJ Hawkinson didn't practice last night either. They put him out with rest. But you got to see JJ McCarthy throw to Jordan Addison. You got to see, and wearing that number 1, I don't know if it's the number 1. I don't know if he worked out more, but Jalen Naylor looks good, man. Like he looks like a solid 2-3 receiver. You know what I mean? Like he looks like he put on some weight, looks a little stronger, like he's been in the weight room. I don't know if it may be just the number 1, so it's giving you that Deebo Samuels feel or something, but he looks like, like he can run some jet sweeps. Rondale Moore looked fast and quick. The offensive line, though, man, when you watch the one-on-one drills with the offensive line and defensive line, man, that offensive line, like I get when it's pass, specific, and the offensive line, like the defense is allowed to just go. They don't have to worry about the run because last night they had to worry about the run. So you saw a little bit different look when all of a sudden it's a draw to Jordan Mason. All of a sudden it's a quick screen to Jordan Mason. It's a quick draw or outside zone run to Aaron Jones. It changes up a little bit when you get to run the ball. And you got Donovan Jackson, you got Brian O'Neill, you got Christian Darrisaw. You got these guys coming down full speed. Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, you got these guys coming down full speed at you. And that's where it changes the scope of it. And that's why I think they're so excited to play the Texans. Like, I think a lot of these guys are sick of it. They're sick of hitting each other. We saw I got a little brouhaha at camp. Guys were getting a little, and again, this happens. We talked about that. We said there's no Xavier Rhodes and Stephon Diggs. Hey, there's not Brian Asamoah versus Aaron Jones. There's Aaron Jones versus, I forgot the other person who pushed him down. So, it's Batty. Tyler Batty. So, you got these guys hitting each other nonstop. It's like they're ready to see it. Give me something else to hit. And that's why I think the defense specifically is going to enjoy this game against the Texans. I don't know how much the offense is going to, enjoy it. I mean, they're going to have fun. But the defense, like you really just get to tee off on somebody finally that's not your teammate, that you don't have to worry about coaches getting mad because you knocked him down. Again, the observations too, the last one, Max Brosmer, man. Here's the thing about Max Brosmer. He looks like he could be the backup quarterback. Like Max Brosmer gets rid of the ball quick. I saw a couple times after plays where either he pulled it down and ran right away and didn't take a sack. He dropped it off quick enough to the first read or the right read. He fit the ball in a hole in a tight window quick and got rid of the release. And when you sit back and hear the assistant GM talk about Max Brosmer that a lot of people don't know, this guy has already broken down the film for the Texans, which is normal. They play them this week, Saturday. It's crazy. I woke up this morning. I'm like, man, there's actually a game this week. Like this is a normal Tuesday off. And then Wednesday, they're going to practice. Thursday, they're going to practice. Friday, they're going to walk through. And then Saturday, they're going to play. It's crazy. I just looked at all my clothes, Sam, that are still in the dirty clothes because I don't wear suits every day. And now I'm like, I got to get my suits.
That time of year.
I got to take them to the cleaners today because I got to have a suit for Saturday. It's that time of the year. Like, I was sitting there looking this morning as I'm phone closed. I cannot not do it today because it takes 2 to 3 days for my cleaners to come back. And I don't want to pay for the rush. I've done that before where I screwed up or forgot. And, Monday Night Football, and I want this suit. And I'm like, I got to take it. And I'll pay the 24-hour fee. I don't want to do that, Sam. I want to do the normal 2 to 3 days. I want to pick it up Friday morning, like every other normal human being that does it the right way, or Saturday morning because we don't play till 3 p.m. Show starts at 2 p.m. So forward to that, they got the set ready to go. They already told me set's ready to go. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But Sam, when I looked at all that stuff, Max Brosmer, him and Rippon are fighting for 3. They're fighting for 3, and it's Max. I feel like it's Max's job because you just look at how he plays. There was numerous times where Josh McCown patted him on the head. Good play. Came over and laughed and joked with him. Hey, that's how you do it. PJ Fleck, man, has prepared this kid. 1 year, though. 1 year. But just doing it the right way. He's broken down film of the Texans. He's broken down film of who they play next.
Patriots.
And Sam, he's even broken down film of the Titans. He's gone through the entire preseason lineup of plays and breakdowns already. Sam, you talk about a guy you want in your locker room to get your starting quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, ready. Max Brosmer has the key. He's like, look, I watched all the film. Here's what the Texans are going to do. Here's what the Titans are going to do. Here's what the Patriots are going to do. That's crazy. That's great. And this is a rookie. But, I mean, remember, Sam, we interviewed him on our show before, twice. Yep. And the one thing he said, I asked him, like, why did you guys those guys come down to hang out in your hometown and have a little retreat? It's like, man, look, I was only going to be for 1 year with the Gophers. I wanted to make sure I got along with the players and gel with the players as quick as possible. Ariana Dershowitz talked about that. We had him on the show and how good Max Brosmer is and how smart he was. It's showing. Like PJ, and even the offensive line coach, they've done a great job of getting Max ready for the NFL. And remember, I called it after I left the pro day. I said, you know what? If Max is still out there, I bet the Vikings pick him up. After hearing Josh McCown talk about him at pro day, I said that. I remember on the show. I said, Josh McCown, I said, be aware. The Vikings are going to take Max Brosmer. I was like, I have a feeling the Vikings, if Max Brosmer does not get drafted, the Vikings will take him. And what happened? The Vikings took him. And look, he might be there 3, with a chance maybe in a year or 2 Peyton Manning. Jim Sorgi out of the University of Wisconsin was Peyton Manning's backup for, I don't even know, 7, 8 years. It's a great job. Holding the clipboard of a future Hall of Famer. If he comes out because we're blowing people out, I get to play preseason. I'm playing because Peyton's not going to play. Like, that could be the Max Brosmer trajectory for the next 8 to 9 years, potentially. Or he could get cut. Like, I don't want people out there saying, dude, what if he gets cut? He could get cut. He could, because that's football too. But I feel like Max Brosmer has done enough where now it's a tough call for Kevin O'Connell. Kwesi did the work. Kwesi and the scouts did the work to get these guys in the building. Now it's up to Kevin O'Connell to make the best 53. And I think Max Brosmer is right there at it. As far as Ambry Thomas, like, I can't hit preseason. And then, because that's what Ambry said last night. He said, man, I can't wait to get to preseason. Because, practice, you can't see it. You don't see exactly what you're going to get out of a guy. But Nudie last year showed us in the preseason he can get it done. I think your guy, Zamiah Vaughn, his preseason is going to matter what he does in preseason. Because, like, good, you can do great in practice when there's no heat on you. But how do you look in the game when those bullets fly? We know Ambry Thomas has already been in, like, NFC championship games with the 49ers. I think he went to the Super Bowl with the 49ers. So this is a guy, at Michigan, one of the top schools in the country, went to the Big Ten champ, or I think he went to the Big Ten championship when he played. So, this is a guy that has been there, done it. Zamiah Vaughn, can the lights get too bright? Can the receivers move too fast? Does the game pass you by? And so that's what the preseason's for. But yeah, Nudie seems like he's in there. Nudie seems like he's the guy. And we talked about this, like that DB room. It's not a DB room that makes anybody say, like, whoa, this is a locked up room. No. I mean, Jeff Okudah looks good. Like, he looks like the first round pick that he was. And somebody else brought up a good point last night. They're like, man, look, if he wasn't taken 3rd overall, nobody would have the feelings they have about him. It's just when you're the third overall pick, they expect you to be Deion Sanders. And he wasn't. And that's okay. But that's like, it wasn't like he was horrible. It's just that he wasn't like they thought he was going to be the next coming of Patrick Surtain, Deion Sanders, Charles Woodson, and he didn't do it. And so people, of course, are always going to question that. Just like quarterbacks. Quarterbacks taken in the 4th round versus quarterbacks taken in the 1st round have a different mindset. And that's what I loved about it. I don't know. When you look at camp so far, Sam, and you see you've seen the social media clips now of night practice. I'm pretty sure people put out, I haven't gone through it yet because I was there till like 10 o'clock. And then by the time I got home, like I just passed out. Like, I was tired. I'd been up since my daughter had tryouts. I did the initials game yesterday. So I had to get up at 6 a.m. To get ready and make sure my daughters were up ready for tryouts for softball. And then I got over there. We'll talk about this tomorrow too, but Julie and I don't know if you saw it yet, Sam. Julie and I both had 2 points.
I know. I listened intently, and you were close. You were close. I thought you had it with second mate. I thought that was going to get you a point.
Second mate, second marriage. Yeah. I was stuck on like the second. I was stuck on sales manager. Sales manager was the other one that was in my head. I shouldn't have wrote it down, but I wrote it down like sales manager, stock market. I was like, stock market has to come up. But yeah, none of that came up. But yeah, I was just happy to get 2 because when Julia got 2, I'm like, oh crap, I can't let her. I'll never hear the end of this. Like if Julia Daniels beats me, I'll never hear the end of this. But we got to get to segment 2. So segment 2, we got to talk about the game coming up. We got the Texans coming to town. I did talk to Danielle Hunter. I talked to Ariante Ursery. I got a chance to talk to Daniel Jackson and to the Vikings about Daniel Jackson. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
And that sponsor today is GameTime. Have you ever decided last minute to go to the game with your buddies, with your family? You suddenly realize last second you want to be in the stands. That's where GameTime comes in with last-minute tickets, sans the stress. When you save money on tickets, that lets you splurge on the food, the drinks, the merch. It's awesome. I used GameTime to get tickets to Vikings Texans on Saturday, bringing the 2 kids for their first Vikings experience. Hopefully we make it to halftime. But the tickets were so affordable that if we leave early, I'm not going to be too bothered. GameTime makes buying tickets easy, fast, and simple. They're the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB. Also, baseball tickets. They make it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. And I assure you, the Twins tickets in August and September will be the right price for you to get in at a cheap cost. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account. Use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Well, Sam, coming up, we got the Texans. And the Minnesota Vikings, I did ask, I know Blake Cashman said he's been on a game-ready practice schedule. And I was kind of like, what does that mean? And he's like, he doesn't really rest. He's been going at game speed. And I said, you know what that's going to do? I said, that's going to help. Meaning because I was joking with him. I'm like, man, you got the pads on tonight? I'm like, TJ Hawkinson's over there chilling. So-and-so's over there resting. He's like, nah, man, those guys are of a certain age. He didn't want to say old, but he said of a certain age. Because Jonathan Allen, he had the rest last night. He's like, those guys are of a certain age. So he's not saying old. He's not saying they're young either. And he's like, I'm not there yet. But he also said, you know what? As the Mike backer, having the calls, all that stuff, or the right inside linebacker, the green dot, he was like, I'm going to make sure I have everything Brian Flores needs me to have. And he said, they've been putting me on a go, game ready type of thing. One, so he doesn't sustain injury when it's time to hit and bang and go. I think that's key. 2, his body is going to be ready to go for this Texans game. And not just the Texans game, but moving on to game 1 against the Bears. I think that's the plan, to get ready for that. 3, to make it the entire season healthy. So bruises, bumps, all that stuff's going to come. He wants his body to feel it and be ready to go and go through, not just rest, and then play. He's just ready to react when it's time. But Blake's like, man, as a guy that has to go in and hit and bang and all this stuff, I want to be ready. And so when I thought about that with the Texans, 1, Ariante Ursery is going to have a chance to come down the line and maybe hit a Blake Cashman. Blake Cashman is going to have a chance to maybe come across the line and hit a Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jackson, sorry, not Daniel Jones, Daniel Jackson. But I just realized Max Brosmer, he's not going to play against Ariante or Daniel Jackson, but they're going to get a chance to connect. So I'm hoping we can get maybe a pregame gopher picture with those guys or something, or a post game. I won't be there for the post, so I told us, hey man, you guys should definitely make sure you guys get a picture. Of Gophers, playing each other in games. But when I look at this game preview, I don't think we're going to see much of at all, probably Danielle Hunter. I don't know what you think about that. But the big, probably not. But the biggest takeaway I have is question for you, and you can go. How long does JJ McCarthy stay in the game?
Yeah, good question. KOC confirmed he's playing. I think we expected it. You got a lot of mouths to feed, Ron. You got 4 QBs. If you want to get them all in. I don't think it's going to be a lot. I don't think it's going to be beyond the first quarter. I would anticipate 2 drives for McCarthy, and if the 2 drives go badly, 3 and out, then maybe we see a third. So I'm going to set the over-under 2.5 drives on JJ. What do you think, over-under that? I'm
going to say first quarter. I think JJ is going to be first quarter. I think, 1, if he had played last year, it might be 2 drives. If he had a proven resume like Kirk Cousins, it might be 2 drives. I feel like this is the first quarter guy. I think this is going to be a quarter for each quarterback. Honestly, so JJ, you don't know what you're getting. So you want to get him ready for the Patriots week, and then, probably in the Patriots game, maybe 2 series. But I think a quarter. The other side of that coin is what you have in Sam Howell as a backup. I think, and maybe Sam Howell gets a quarter, and gets a quarter, and Max Bosa gets a quarter. Maybe every quarterback gets a whole quarter. That's my one prediction. Every quarterback gets a whole quarter, or it becomes a heavy ripping Brosmer into the first half, all second half, because they really need to find out who's QB3. And that's the other side of the coin, where I think it could come down to that, where both guys are doing a lot of heavy lifting for those 2 backing quarterbacks, because you want to know who quarterback 2 and 3 is. As far as JJ McCarthy, the only way I see him really coming out after 1 or 2 drives is, and I said this to somebody else, if he goes like 10 for 10. If he goes 10 for 10, or 7 for 7 or 8 for 8, something like that, where he's just on fire, and not just like dump it off to Aaron Jones, dump it off to Jordan Mason. Let me throw a little shallow route to Jalen Naylor. Oh, here's Jordan Addison on a quick hit. No. I'm talking about deep over daggers. I'm talking about deep corner routes. I'm talking about up the seam to one of the tight ends. I'm thinking a go route to Jordan Addison or Jalen Naylor. Get speedy out there. If he's dropping dots like that at depth and distance, and then he's also throwing touch on the crossers, because Rondale Moore, if I have Rondale Moore, and this is what Keenan McCarthy and I talked about, and this is all quarterbacks. When Rondale Moore has a crosser with that speed, you have to know how to throw the ball. Because again, just because the receiver's open and you throw it hard and it tips off his fingers, it's just as much as your fault as his. Because as a quarterback, we're in this together. I can't throw like a hard ball, you miss it, and then I blame you. Like, come on, man, you got to catch that. No, I got to make the throw where you can catch it, because you'll never see a receiver miss it and be like, come on, man, throw it softer. He can't do that. Mm-hmm. But you can say, and it's not so much of, well, if I throw it soft, it's a pick. No, you throw it soft, but you lead it so that, and we all done this when we were kids with the train. If a train leaves Boston and another train leaves LA and they're passing by, one train's doing 65 miles an hour and the other train's doing 70 miles an hour, at what state do they meet? You remember that? And then you had to take like a ruler and you had to do the like, well, this many miles to here. And then, it's from LA to Detroit, it's 100 and whatever, 2,000 miles. And then from Boston, and then you just do the math. That's how throwing a shallow route is. It's coming full speed, and I'm throwing it this way. So it's like, at what point do I need, or what depth do I need to throw it to where they meet, and it's a perfect where he doesn't have to slow down. It doesn't get there too hard. Where he misses it, it's too far. Or I wait right when he's here, and I throw it as hard as I can. It's time to be looking for that, not just with JJ, but with Sam Howell, with Max Brosmer, and with Rippon. I think that's going to be the key to this offense is you have some weapons that you can get the ball into their hand. Again, I think you brought this up maybe on the Thursday show or maybe on our show, but the Brandon Powell experience. We thought Brandon Powell was going to be that guy for them, the guy that was going to catch some of those balls, and it happened every once in a while. It didn't happen enough. And Rondale Moore looks healthy. Like, again, he looks healthy. He's running fast. I talked to him about that, and I'm like, man, I remember you at Purdue and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, man, I appreciate it. I'm like, he looks good. I'm like, dude, you look like, he's like, yeah, I'm healthy. I'm moving fast. I feel good. And so if you think about what Kwesi did this offseason, he got a lot of guys that people be like, man, are they healthy? Like, are they going to be able to go? And all of them right now, all signs point to everybody's healthy and ready to go. And I think that's the key for this preseason. But, when you think about this depth chart, and I'm just looking at it right now, let me hit a refresh to see if any other questions have popped up. Nope. Oh, here's the thing, though, Sam, too. Mekhi Blackmon, questionable, but he played last night. So clearly that questionable is not as they, it might be just like we put him on there because he's out there. Like I was talking to one of the scouts about that. I'm like, oh, he's back. He's like, yeah, he's been back. He's been good. We're just working him in and figuring out. I don't know if he'll play in the preseason, but he was back, and he looked good. Like, he looks like the reason they drafted him.
I think I think Okuda's the starter right now, so I think Blackman's got to play.
Yeah,
I think if he wants to work his way back above Okuda,
right. And so you got Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah, Byron Murphy. Then you have Dwight McGlover. You got Tavier Thomas, and then you got Jeff Okudah, with Isaiah Rodgers. And then you got behind that, then you got Ambry Thomas, because Ambry Thomas did move up into the 3 spot. I just noticed that now. He was in the 4s. He moved up to the 3s now. So you got Ambry Thomas, you got Khalif Halisi, and then you got Ricky Stewart. Reddy Stewart. So Zamai Vaughn, I think, is my guess, will pop over in front of Halisi and Stewart. But again, it's going to come down. It's not a given. It's going to come down to some of this preseason game stuff and what they can do. But when you look at Tavier Thomas, again, that was another one of your guys that you're looking forward to. And he moves well. The problem is he's not jumping off the screen like some of these other guys are. Like to get picked over some guys, you got to be sensational in some of these periods, and he hasn't really given that just yet. But Sam, looking at the Texans, is there anything from any of these guys? Like, what are you looking for from like Zamai Vaughn, from Levi Drake Rodriguez? Because he was a big name last year. We haven't talked a lot about him since they got Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, which sucks. It sucks for younger guys like that splashed for us last year in preseason. Everybody was loving the name and mic'd them up, and then all of a sudden you get these vets, and everybody's like, "Who? Levi? Who?" Like, "Oh, we got Jonathan Allen, we got Javon Hargrave." And that's the nature of any job. You got to do the job they ask you to do, and if they hire somebody else, you just got to hope that you continue to do enough to be noticed. But what are you looking for in this Texas game? Because those guys are going to play a lot, like Jalen Redmond, Tyron Ingram Dawkins, high ceiling too. Tyron Ingram Dawkins really just started playing. He has a high ceiling. But what are you looking for those guys, specifically defense? Because we can talk about offense maybe on the Wednesday show a little bit more. But what are you looking from? Because I know you've talked about Zamai, and you can go with offensive guys too. But what are you looking for? Like, what can these guys do in the Texans game to really say, "Hey, like I deserve to be on this roster"?
Yeah, I would expect to see Levi Drake Rodriguez, Jalen Redmond, and Taki Taimani probably start and play a lot on the interior defensive line. And I think it's 3 guys for 2 spots. I think that's a wide open competition right now. I think Jalen Redmond leads. Get out. I think at corner, it feels like you have a good 6, Zamai Vaughn and Dwight McGlover in 5 and 6. But can Ambry play his way up? Can Tavier Thomas play his way up into that group, or lobby for a special teams job? I think there's probably a couple flex spots, Ron, whether it's cornerback 6, cornerback 7, wide receiver 6. I think there are so I'm watching the punts. Like, there's probably going to be a lot of punts in this game. It's a preseason game. I'm watching the gunners. I'm watching the blocking. I want to see who's pulling their weight in that regard, because that can get you a spot, right? I mean, that's how you get that 52nd, 53rd spot on the roster, is to shine in that area.
And you said 5 to 6. So you got Mekhi Blackman, you got Isaiah Rodgers, you got Byron Murphy Jr., you got Jeff Okudah, and then you're saying Dwight McGlover and Zamai Vaughn.
5 and 6.
Got it.
That's where I think it's at now, but I think it could change. I think Tavier and Ambry could give him a run.
Correct. And so the one thing about it, the fact that the first thing one of the scouts said to me was he ran a 4.3 coming out of college. Ambry Thomas, I think, has a chance at gunner. Like, I think he has a chance because, like, what's his name, who was the gunner last year? They released him with injury designation. Najee, yeah. He got released with the injury designation. He rehabbed back, but, in the end, I think he ended up, I don't know where he went. I saw he posted, like, New Beginning, so I don't know where he went. But when you look at him gone, you look at, there's no Dan Chisena coming back. Like, Ambry Thomas at 4.3, if he still has that top end speed and he can get down there and force punt returners to, like, the biggest thing a gunner can do is make a punt returner fair catch. If you have the or he catches it and you absolutely nail him to the ground. And whether he goes to the ground or you hit it and knock the ball loose. Those are big plays by gunners that coaches are like, "Oh, that's not replicable. You can't replicate that." There it is. I couldn't say the word. But you can't replicate that. Like, everybody can't do that. Everybody can't get down there fast enough. And so Ambry Thomas, and he kind of alluded to that last night too. He was like, he knows, which is a good place to be. When you know your opportunity is on special teams to then stay on the roster and show these coaches you deserve to be on the field. I think that's a huge growth moment and mindset too from a kid to say, I know I got to make this team by special teams, but I also know I can cover guys. And so the first step to impacting the team is just making the team. Look at how many guys were special teams guys to start, or were picked up as special, like Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark was undrafted. He wasn't slated to say you're going to be a Pro Bowl safety. It was just, can you make this team? And then he ended up playing 11 years. That's guys like that continue to defy the odds, do things that nobody expected them to do. And, that's where one of these guys can be. Just make the team, and then go from there. Because Tavierre Thomas is in his 9th year. So then it comes down to age as well, with money, and all that goes into the factors of a GM. I talked to Kwesi last night too, and we didn't talk about anything football related. Like it was actually fun. We talked about he talked about his kids, and how quick the summer goes away, and how with 2 kids now, you can't just vacation, you can't just pick up and go with little babies. It's like you got to plan. I mean, Sam, you got 2 kids and they're young. You got to plan it out. You got to make sure you got coverage. You got to make sure you got kid stuff. But I think that's the thing with all these guys. Kwesi is looking at it from a holistic standpoint of, this is Kevin's team. I bought these guys in. I like them all. Keenan McCardell made the comment that, whoever they cut, they're getting picked, like teams are going to pick these guys up. Like whoever gets cut, teams are going to pick these guys up. And he was talking, defensive line too. He was saying, so I don't know who they were alluding to, but, they were saying, like you said, Sam, like if a Levi Drake Rodriguez just doesn't make the cut because a Tyron, Ingram Dawkins has a bigger ceiling in their opinion, somebody's picking up Drake Rodriguez. Like Levi Drake Rodriguez will get picked up by somebody, and that's or Taki Tamani, but Levi right now is slated as a 3, so we'll see what those reps look like because Jalen Redmond, Taki Taimani, and Tyron Ingram Dawkins are in the 2s. Can they keep 7 defensive linemen? I don't think so. That's going to be tough. Where does Brian Asamoah fit in this? Because you got Eric Wilson, Kobe King, Ivan Pace Jr., and Blake Cashman. You got 4 inside linebackers. Do you keep a 5th? Do you keep a 5th, or do you need to have more outside rushers? Does Dallas Turner, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, Bo Richter, and does Gabriel Murphy stay? Like that's where the numbers are going to matter. Like how many DBs versus linebackers versus D linemen can you keep? And that's why it's a fight every year with the coaches, even, and not a real fight, but hey, this guy really, I need this guy for this, or this guy, you already got 10 DBs. Why do you need another one? That's the discussion that happens. And that's when we find out that Tuesday, I think that Tuesday, Wednesday, before the season starts, we kind of start to see the roster put itself together, and hopefully Tuesday. So when we wake up Tuesday morning and do the show before the first game, we got the roster ready to go. We got all the stuff ready to go, ready to talk about. Maybe we get Courtney Cronin in to talk about the final roster. Maybe we just make sure we have her for the Bears game even that week. But that's going to be the fun part about this, is seeing this roster come together. Sam, last one before we get out of here about the Texans, we're going to get to the Daily 3. Do you expect to see any, do you expect to see CJ Stroud, or do you think he's not playing?
I don't think he's playing. I think every team kind of does this now. If you have a franchise quarterback, unless they're a rookie, like McCarthy kind of is, I don't think they're playing. I would be surprised if we saw like a Nico Collins. I don't think we'll see any key starters. We might see a lot of Ed Ingram. Ed Ingram is supposed to be, on the Texans offensive line. Might see an old friend, old Ingram.
There's a lot of Vikings on the Patriots too. I don't know if you went through their roster. I was looking at that yesterday. It's a lot of Vikings on that.
It is.
And former, Jack Gibbons is on there too, former Gopher. So yeah, it's a lot of Vikings, former Vikings. But Sam, last one. Mm-hmm. Does that water down the preseason ticket? Like, do people really does that do you have to be a real fan and want to go to that game knowing that you're not going to see any superstars? Or is it that this is the best opportunity I have to get my kid to a game for a cheap ticket? Because I'm waiting on the GameTime. So for those GameTime appers who've downloaded, and I hope you've done it by now, I'm on the GameTime app right now. If you want to see Stephon Diggs, he's not going to play though. But if you want to see the Patriots Vikings right now, there's a $7 ticket on GameTime. $7, Sam, just to get into the building. $7. Here's what's crazy. If you want to this is a great time. I mean, honestly, this is a great, if you want to take your kids. I'm just seeing my wife wants to do it. Now, I don't know which game though, but $69, Sam, to sit in the first row. $69.
Yeah.
on Game Time.
Crazy. You can get $1,000 seats for dirt cheap in the preseason, and I'm exactly where you were mentioning, Ron. I wanted my kids to have an experience. They don't care about the game. They don't care who wins. They just like the concept of football. So obviously, no hidden fees at Game Time. So we paid $9 a ticket, but like the face value on the tickets, the tickets were $3 a piece, and then the fees made it $9 a piece. But $3 tickets to sit in the upper deck for these games, it's a cheap ticket.
And if you check back the day before the game or the morning of the game, it's going to be even lower because they want to get rid of this ticket. They're not going. So just keep an eye on that too. You can always hit keep an eye on it, and it'll alert you. So it'll say, do you want to be, keep, and if you put it in there, then they'll remind you, hey, just heads up, whatever, these tickets are going fast. Mobile transfers right on your phone. But that's the Game Time app. But we'll be back after a word from our sponsor, or a quick pause, actually, and then we got the Daily 3. Well, now it's time for the Daily 3, Sam. That's 3 questions, about 3 minutes each a day. Take it away.
Yeah, we're all over the board today with the Daily 3. First of all, let's start with a big Lynx trade. The Lynx are a league best, 5 games better than the New York Liberty. They made a trade for DeJounte Carrington, who averaged 10 points a game last year, kind of the Naz Reid of the WNBA, 6th woman, or first one off the bench, if you will. She was the most improved player in 2024. So the Lynx added this player. They add Carrington. They're the league's best. And yet somehow, Ron, the New York Liberty are still the favorites on FanDuel to win the title. What is going on there?
Man, so have you been watching like all the hate that the refs are getting now for the WNBA and all the Caitlin Clark comments about the refs? Like, do you need or Paige Becker's, do you need my glasses? Caitlin Clark saying something to the regard of like, yeah, they hate me or something. I don't know. Like they're lip read. People don't really know what was said. But there's just a lot going on in the WNBA. And one of them is that, like, the WNBA better. One is bettors. But 2, the New York Liberty won the year before. And this is where I chalk it up to. If the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan were 5 games back in the three-peat era of Michael Jordan, they're going to pick Michael Jordan. Like Michael Jordan had just won one. Even if he's 5 games back, they're going to pick Michael Jordan. So that's what they're treating the New York, like just like Steph Curry. When Steph Curry with the Warriors, if they're 5 games back and they're in the 2 seed, people still are probably picking them to win over the 1 seed back in his heyday when they had, the Splash Brothers. So it's just that the New York Liberty had won. Sabrina Ionescu is still one of the best scorers, one of the best shooters in the league. And honestly, I don't know. I think Minnesota sports just always get a bad rap. Like, I think the world knows that they're cursed. Like, I don't believe in curses, but I think the world feels like they are. And so, like, because when I was on the initials game, Power Trip, Kelsey Cook, the comedian, Chelsea Cook comedy, she talked about that. She talked about, like, because I'm not from Minnesota either, and she talked about like how she ruined something. I forgot. Oh, it was a minute and something left to go, and her boyfriend had bet that the Vikings would cover versus the Bears. And she kind of said something like, I didn't know that much could happen in a minute and 11 seconds in a football game, because I think the Bears ended up scoring, which they still won, but he didn't win his bet, which I think it was like 7. And so they had to win by more than 7, and they won by like 4 or something like that. Or I can't remember exactly what happened, but yeah, basically she ruined his bet. And that's just like everything though. People are like, oh, there's no way they lose this game. Okay, just watch. There's no way he throws another interception. Just watch. And that's where I think the WNBA Lynx are. Now the Lynx have won 4 championships?
Yes.
So they don't have that same mindset, but Minnesota fans are always, until they win it, Minnesota fans are like, I mean, what did it come down to last year? It was the phantom foul. The phantom foul that never happened.
Missed travel call, phantom foul. Yep.
Phantom foul. Like, and then, of course, all the conspiracy theorists that the commissioner was wearing a dress that was a skyline of New York. So she was already preparing to go up on the stage and celebrate New York when it should have been the Lynx championship. Hey, I'm not all for conspiracy, but I guess as the commissioner lives in New York, so she's just New Yorkian. But yeah, I just think that's part of it. I think they're the past winners. And there's a little bit of like last year they lost. So it's like, well, look, even if you're up 5, you still got to play them in the championship, and they beat you head to head. So until you beat them, we're going to make them the favorites.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I think it's great value. If you want to check that out at FanDuel, plus 170 on the Lynx. The Twins, Ron, I don't know if you saw the vitriol
Yep.
last
Oh,
week.
yeah.
They traded 10 players at the trade deadline and basically conceded the season. They kind of went into rebuild mode. Fans are livid. Are they justified, Ron, in being this upset?
Yeah, I mean, they won a series, in 2023 or something like that? So they weren't far off, and they were like, where were they in the division at this point? Second?
This year, I think they were in third when they made they were not going to win the division. They were way back in the wild card hunt. So I think the playoffs were probably out of question this year unless they got really hot. But they're kind of mailing in next year too, Ron, and maybe the next couple of years by doing this, which is kind of the big. That's what the trades represent, is like a total shifting of the core players.
Was Duran in that trade, the pitcher?
Yeah, Duran he was one of the first ones to go.
Because I saw the video of him coming out in Philly with the his intro with the lights going out, the spider and the thing and the fire and the Undertaker sound, like he's coming out. I'm back. I'm coming out to kill. It's cool entrance. It's cool entrance. It's up there with the like it's cool.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody post it, like a Twins fan posted it, like, it's too soon. I can't handle this. I don't want to see this. And somebody else posted it saying, hey, Twins fans, just look away. Somebody else posted it saying, hey, Philly, good luck. Hopefully you guys do better than we did with them. So it's just like everybody's just mad. Like I just saw a text message. It's a fake one though. But it's like, hey, what time are you coming? And somebody tweeted like a picture of all the players that got traded from the Twins. And then the person, it's one of those sports jokes, and the person's next text says, what does that mean? And he's like, I'm not coming. Because they're all gone. Like we're not, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Yeah. I'm not coming. And so I don't think that fit. I think he could have got a little bit more clever than the, I'm not coming. I don't know, like he should have done something else, like, or I'm giving up, like I'm out of here. So I don't know. It could have been better. Hey babe, let's not we've been together for so long. Like, I hope you can understand that. Let's not. And then you send that. And then she's like, babe, what does that mean? It means, hey, it's over. I'm giving up. I'm trading everything in. I'm giving up. Like that would have been a better. I might actually do that myself. I might try to do that. Create my own text for Twitter today. But yeah, no, it's tough. I think, yes, being limited ownership, because for years I've heard about the pocket Polad pocket protectors and all this other stuff, and people, they just want to. So you were close. You were close. And baseball is so hard to get closer. So if you have it, don't just wash it all away. Maybe change a couple pieces here and there. Spend some more money. Like there's no reason you can't just buy a championship. But hey, what do I know? What's the next one?
Last one, Micah Parsons demanded a trade from the Cowboys on social media. Jerry Jones is doing his Jerry Jones thing. He's negotiating through the media and giving weird press conferences. Are the Cowboys actually going to do this, Ron? Are they actually going to trade Micah Parsons?
I have no clue. I really don't. Because Jerry Jones says no. He's like, I've seen this with Emmitt Smith. He's using, he has been around the game forever. Like the dude is literally like the crypt keeper. Like he's been around forever. But when he's a vampire, like when you think about, he talked, because I didn't even know about that. The Emmitt Smith hold in, where Emmitt Smith showed up to camp and then didn't want to practice until he got his contract. I guess Jerry Jones. But again, there wasn't social media back then. There wasn't, the player didn't have the ability to jump on the podcast and talk trash about the owner. It's a different day and age. It's a different day and age, but we've also seen Myles Garrett request a trade, and then the Browns paid him. So this might be the new, and that's what Jerry Jones probably thinking. This is the new age tactic of these youngins. They're going to take to social media with their pain, and they're going to try to force our hand to get the crowd behind them and get all the fans to get mad at us, just to show support for the player. And now the ownership feels like, all right, fans love him. Let's make sure we give him his money. But he says, like, Mike is going to be here for a long time. We're not trading Micah. So I don't know. I have no idea. What do you think? I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, the last time I remember a pass rusher kind of having a fallout with their organization like this, Khalil Mack. Remember that?
He left. Yeah, he did leave the Bears.
And he left. It seems like it would be foolish of the Cowboys to let this happen. I'm not sure why they're being so cheap about it with a premier player like this in his prime. I don't get it. but I don't understand anything that Jerry Jones does. So clearly there's a negotiation. It's related to money. I would guess he gets paid handsomely just before the season. I think they get a deal done.
Yeah. All wounds. So Band-Aids heal, and what's that? Neosporin, right? $100+ million heals a lot of wounds. My guess is, though, and so I didn't know this too. I talked to Rob Brzezinski last night, and he talked about Lloyd's of London, the insurance company, that when you sign $200 million guy now, you can take an insurance policy out on that guy. So if he gets hurt, Lloyd's of London pays that money to him, not the team. And so now, as an owner, even though the player is getting the money, even though you're cap strapped and cash strapped, you don't actually spend the money. It's like fake money. It's monopoly money. So he said a lot of these guys you're seeing get hurt, and they have these guaranteed contracts. The team actually is not actually paying them. The insurance company's paying them. And they probably do a lot of these policies because it would make no sense to do these policies if you just keep losing money. My guess is the percentage are injured $100 to $200 million guys ends up probably being like 1 or 2%. But from an owner standpoint, from a league or ownership dollar cash standpoint, it makes sense to do that, because when it happens, like Deshaun Watson, if he never can play again, the Browns actually don't have to give him $230 million. The insurance company will. And I'm like, that's kind of smart. I didn't know that they did that still. Or sorry, I didn't know they did. I knew they did that in college, where you, like, if you want to stay in college, because I had one when I came back my 4th year, you can take one out on yourself. And if you get hurt in college, then you can get like $1 million policy that could be like, okay, I got hurt. Because I almost cashed in on mine, but then I wasn't like fully hurt where I couldn't get drafted. So it has to be like an injury where you can't get drafted. Like Willis McGahee, for instance. I'm pretty sure he might have had one on himself when he came back to Miami, and he might actually got a little paid for it. But yeah, they have those on top guys. Like the Vikings have one on Justin Jefferson. And that's what happens. I think every $100 to $200 million guy, they say every owner's doing it. Like it's just a smart play. So for Micah Parsons, that's probably gonna be part of it. Hey, we'll give you this money. And a lot of guys probably don't like that language either. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean if I get, like, it's like, dude, we just got to protect ourselves, and this has nothing. You're going to get your money. You're just going to get it from an insurance company. And they want to make sure. That's why Deshaun Watson, I think, was fighting his, because the team's like, hey, dude, you got hurt outside of football. Like, I heard you got hurt water skiing or jet skiing. So we're not paying you. Like, you better go take that up with the insurance company. And they probably have stipulations too. Like, hey, wait, you were riding a motorcycle? Oh, no. We're not paying you. You idiot. You got hurt. Remember the whole Kellen Winslow. Remember, like he was in the parking lot doing wheelies on a motorcycle, and a bank ATM camera caught it. So that's how the team ended up getting out of paying him. Because like, dude, there's footage of you out there doing, like, getting to a crash in a parking lot. Like, we're not paying you. But anyway, that'll do it for us today. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Thank you guys for joining us today on the Ron Johnson Show. Stay tuned this week. We are going to have some player interviews. We're coming up with a cool name for it. 3 with 3 Ron Johnson, 3 with RJ3, something like that. Let us know what you guys think. But we're going to try to get 3 players this week and mash them together for a little interview mashup, and then just see the takeaways from it. And we got the Texans coming up this week. Can't wait to break that down. And we'll do that and much more coming up next week as well. And then you got the Patriots, people. That's going to be the fun week. But I'm Ron Johnson, Sam Ekstrom. Thank you guys for joining. Make sure you guys subscribe on Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. We can get all of our shows, all of our content as soon as we post it. Take care. Have a good week, people.